Alright, so this is my 59 Edsel here, and I've been working on this thing for a little while now, trying to get it all straightened out, working all the little things out of it here and there. But anyway, I pulled this dual brake master cylinder off. This is a correct dual brake master cylinder. I believe it has a 1-inch bore in it, and it is dual. But you got to remember, one thing that I pointed out is on the Ford, this is the front brakes, and then this one is the rear. So it's actually swapped in reversed, if that makes sense. Then it would be a more like a GM style. So you got to watch out. The bigger reservoir is always the front brakes. The smaller one's always your rear. And I did not have that tied in correctly. So that's one thing I'm going to address now. Another thing is I got this junk brake booster off. And I say junk because it is junk. Because when you step on the pedal, the diaphragm has got a hole in it. The brake booster is not even the right diameter. It's not even, going to work at all. And the, I don't like calling people out, but it dented in the valve cover there so he could cram the bigger diameter brake booster in here, which I'm hoping it didn't screw up anything on the rocker arms or anything. It didn't tick or anything, so I think I might have got lucky there. But so he dented that in just to shove this bigger brake booster in here. And this is a Ford master cylinder and a brake booster. I'm not sure what it's off of. It could be off maybe a station wagon or a Mustang or something, but I know for a fact it is a drum brake master cylinder. I know that. This car originally had a single master cylinder. It was a 1-inch bore, and I believe this one right here is a 1-inch bore. And we're not going to run this back. We might run this exact style, but we're not going to run this exact one back, if that makes sense. That one, it still works, but I'm not going to play around with brakes. And we're trying to make this car safe. That's the whole point. Is this car, I deemed it truly unsafe. This car's been unsafe to drive for a very long time, and it's just, we're not going to drive it like it because it's not safe. That's why I've been doing the front suspension on this side. I got it wrapped up. I got to throw that rubber, the A-arm, the upper stop, I got to throw that on here. And then I got to wrap this side up over here, get it all back together. I got to go get the coil spring compressor and get it all back together. I did a little bit of painting on the frame. It still looks horrible, but that's a rubber stop sitting right there, just so you know. But there we go. I cleaned the frame up a little bit, got it painted the upper A-arm a little bit. And I gotta come in here and mess that upper ball joint and get that to fit correctly. They don't even fit. They just, I tell you, they don't make stuff good anymore. They really don't. They do, but they don't. But if that makes sense. But that's where we're at, and I'm trying to straighten up and address all these major issues that's been going on with this thing. I got to replace about 5 lines total. The transmission lines need to be replaced on this car. They are just junk. I mean, honestly, they've been hacked and packed on and just everything else, and they need to be replaced completely from the case all the way up to the radiator. That needs to be addressed. The front to rear fuel line needs to be addressed. It needs to be completely removed, and a whole new 3/8 fuel line needs to be run on this car. And I do have 3/8 tubing, so I'm gonna run a whole new front to rear fuel line on this car, and it needs a front to rear brake line, which is 3/16, which I had there. I'm gonna address that too. And so we'll get our new fuel line on it and our new front to rear brake line, and then I gotta run a brake line to the passenger side front there. And then this car will completely have all new brake lines, and they'll be all correct like they need to be. But trying to get everything straightened up. This brake line on this side, on this passenger side, it actually runs this way, and then it comes across the cross member down underneath the radiator, and it runs over to our master cylinder. Trying to get our camera to focus here, and run straight over there. I think I will ditch these brake lines here. I'm not happy with that. It looks like pure junk, pretty much, in my opinion. At the time when I got this car running and driving, I was in a hurry, and you got to slow down. I mean, you got to slow down on this stuff. But they were never plumbed right at all. And they are separate. It's plumbed correctly for a dual brake master cylinder, but like I pointed out, I had one, they were actually backwards. The one that goes to the rear brakes was on this part of the master cylinder, and then the front brakes were on this part of the master cylinder, which is not correct. They need to be swapped. And so I'm gonna address that issue. That's not a big deal, but I'm gonna take care of that issue. And this one right here was not flared correctly. It looks like junk, pretty much. And if it'll focus, but I don't think it'll focus. You can see it. This one is good. We'll reuse this line unless I decide to rebend it. This one is a beautiful flare there, double flare. This one right here, just, I don't know what that is. There it is. Look at that. Just junk. It's not even right. It's a single flare. But yes, I did that. You know, I did that one. You know, I didn't know what I was doing. But I'm gonna correct that. I got a nice tool to do it now, and we're gonna address this stuff because, like I said, this car, it's, you know, I deemed it unsafe, and you know, we're not driving this car 1 foot until all this is addressed. And it's not that, you know, big a deal to do. It's really not. We just need a new front to rear fuel line for the car. And that's a 3/8 fuel line. I have some that'll be easy enough to bend up, and we'll run that all the way to the tank. Still got to address the tank issue, but we'll make another video on that. And then we need a front to rear 3/16 brake line, and that'll take care of that issue. And then the other one that comes from the side where the master cylinder is and goes all the way over to the passenger side, I got to do that, and that'll take care of all those issues, and we'll put a good master cylinder on it. And I think the only issue we'll really have then is just the transmission lines. They're not leaking, but you know, it just, you know, it's just unacceptable. I mean, at the time, you know, I was trying to get the car so I could drive around, take the car shows, have fun with it. But you know, now I've had it a while, it's just, it's time to get it straightened up a little bit. I mean, it's getting ridiculous. We want to make the car safe, you know. This car is, you know, it's a older car, and it's, you know, it's pretty rare, and we don't want to, you know, take it to a car show and risk getting in an accident, because once it's gone, it's gone. This car, you know, you're not going to bring this car back very easy. I mean, a lot of stuff is easy to find, but some stuff like them fenders and that hood and all that, I mean, good luck. You're not going to find it. And if you do, in today's times, people think they have a gold mine and want to charge you a crazy amount of money. And, you know, and just rip you off, pretty much. But anyway, this is what I've tried to do, and that's something else I'm trying to get out of the habit of saying, anyway, you know, trying to get out of that habit here, and kind of making fun of myself there. But see, look, I almost said it. But this is what I've been working on. We're trying to address this, get rid of all this basket case junk here. You know, that's not safe. The diaphragm is no good, and when it did work, it actually worked pretty good, but it's too big in diameter, and where the valve cover was dented in with probably a rubber hammer, God forbid a sledgehammer, you know, it's just, it's unacceptable there. And you can buy a smaller diameter brake booster for it. So, but I'm gonna do a little research into this, because I don't want to I want to make the car safe, if that makes sense, but I don't want to put a lot of money. I'm not going to waste money on a brake booster right now. And the reason being for that is because this car will get, no matter what, it's going to get 4-wheel disc brakes. And they will be 4-wheel power disc brakes. That's what this car is going to get, and it will have power steering and eventually air conditioning, but that'll be much later on. But this car, I don't want to buy a brake booster for it as it is right now, because it's not worth it. Because I'm just going to have to pull all that back off when I do the disc brake swap. Which really, the boosters are really pretty much the same. All you got to really swap is just this master cylinder here. But it's not worth it. We're just going to make this manual brakes for now. That's the way it's been anyway, because hence that's been unhooked. and you know, hence the huge vacuum leak it had. But we're going to take in, I'm going to clean this master cylinder up, make sure it is 1-inch bore. I can't find no numbers or anything on it. I can't. I mean, it still works good, but I think it's off of a Mustang. I don't really know. I know when I looked the numbers up for that water pump, it come back as a 69 Mustang. But, and something else I am going to do is, once we get everything a little more straightened up, and I finish up that TBI motor and that Biscayne, I'm going to either we're going to overhaul, pull the motor out of the Durango and get it overhauled, because it's got almost 200,000 on it, and it's just, you know, it's about that time. That's getting quite a bit in my opinion. But either I'm going to overhaul the motor in the Durango, so because I plan on keeping it. It's cheaper in the long run just to overhaul the motor than it is to, you know, buy another vehicle. But I don't really know yet. But either the Durango motor is going to get overhauled, or either we're going to pull this out. One of the two. And when I go to pull this out and we put it back in, we're going to get rid of like that water pump right there. There's nothing wrong with that. But we're going to paint the water pump, the thermostat, the block. We're going to paint everything back the way it came from the factory. And, you know, it ain't got to be 100% original, but I want to put it, you know, all the correct original colors. That was just, I was going to paint this motor like a Ford red like it is there, and I just, yeah, never finished it pretty much. But I don't think these valve covers are actually, they are the correct era valve covers for this car. They do not have the PCV, obviously. But I don't think they're original to the car because they're blue. And on this car, originally, the block, the heads, timing cover, oil pan, water pump, thermostat housing, and I believe the intake were all like a semi-gloss black. And the intake, I did see a little hint of green on it. So I'm not 100% sure if that's the original intake or not. I'm pretty sure it is. But I do see a little hint of white down there, which looks like the original paint. And I think the valve covers, I know in a 58 they had the E400 and the E475, which did not mean whatsoever as a 400 cubic inch motor. That is not what it means. It means it had, from the factory when it was new, it had 400 foot-pounds of torque, and that was a 361 FE motor. That was the quote-unquote E400, and the E475 was a 410 cubic inch. This right here is a well, some people call it a 361, 360, you know, it's same thing. In my opinion, it's the same thing. You could actually pull the crank out of this thing and put a 390 crank in it and make it a 390 if you want it. But I'm not going to do that. If I get this motor overhauled, if I ended up doing this motor after I wrap up the TBI motor and the Biscayne, now everything, you know, works out on that, and you know, everything passes on that as far as the test and breaking in and all that, then we'll pull this out. And I don't think we're going to really do anything to it other than maybe bump the compression up a little bit. But we're not going to we're not zero decking the block, we're not shaving the heads. You know, I'm sure it's already got flat top pistons anyway. I mean, well, back then I know it's got flat top pistons in it, but if it doesn't, which I really seriously doubt that, it'll get flat tops. But other than that, you know, we're not going to really do anything, just a bare bones upgrade. The only thing I would ever really 100% do on this is upgrade to a roller cam. And the reason being for that is, like I've mentioned before, is flat taplets are, you know, it's nothing wrong. They were good in their day, but, you know, this is 2022. They're getting old. They're getting outdated, and they don't really, you know, it just depends on the person, really, to be honest. If it's broken right, then you'll get, you know, you never have any trouble with them, really. And I don't, you know, I'm not trying to talk negative about them, but the way I look at it is 2022. And I don't mean to, you know, sound bad or anything. You know, I like flat taplets. If you got a special application, sometimes you got to run a flat tablet. They don't make a roller. But this motor right here, I will spend the money and put a roller in it. It's just, in the long end, it's worth it because, You ain't got to worry about all the zinc and all that, and it's just, like I said, it's 2022. Why not just go and upgrade it? I mean, if it lasts, you know, a long time, then that'd be good. And those, you can pull them out and you can actually reuse them as long as, you know, nothing's wrong with them. But I think, you know, in today's times, it's just more, you're just better off just going to upgrade to a roller. I mean, it's less trouble in my opinion. Not saying you would have trouble with a flat taplet, but just go on and upgrade it. That was the whole point of building that TBI motor. Is I'm kind of testing that machine shop, see how good they do on that, and as long as it runs good, it breaks in good. When we get it in our 59 Biscayne, then I'm gonna pull this out, either this one or the motor in the Durango, which of course the motor in the Durango has already got a roller cam anyway. But one of these two, either this one or the Durango motor, and we're gonna have it overhauled, because the one in the Durango runs fine, but it's getting a lot of miles, and you know, sometimes it doesn't hurt to pull a motor out and go through it, because you never know. Sometimes you can catch something early before it really, you know, does some real major damage. I have seen that before. And I know this motor is completely wore out. I mean, it's wore out, it smokes, and I mean, it's not bad once it gets warmed up, but I know all the exhaust seats, I'm sure, are sunk, and I'm sure some of the cam lobes are, you know, not the greatest, because I don't run zinc in it, you know, because it's not worth it. It's a worn out motor. I mean, once you wipe a lobe out, you're not going to magically dump, you know, high zinc oil in it, VR1 or Brad Penn oil, and it'll come back, you know. No, once you wipe a lobe out, that's pretty much it. It's kind of pointless to run the zinc in it then. And that's why I don't run a lead additive or nothing in it, because if it's wore out, it's wore out. I mean, that's just the way I look at it. You're not going to really make it worse unless you just running it, you know. But that's why it's no point. If it's a, you know, fresh motor or something like that, and it's got a flat tap cam, then of course, yes, I'll run zinc in it. But if it's something like this, I mean, do you think the previous owner was running zinc in it before and they knew all about that? I highly doubt it. But so this is where we're at here. I'm getting all this junk off here, and I'm gonna do a little research, because the master cylinder on my Chevelle, and yeah, I know, here we go again, running Chevrolet parts on here, but that's okay. We can put this car 100% back original if we ever want it. But I'm doing a little research here, and the master cylinder, the dual brake master cylinder for a 67 Chevelle, has a 1-inch bore, and it's about $50. Where this one is, you know, anywhere from, I have seen them 50, but it's a reman. Anywhere from, just say 50 for a reman, all the way up to almost 150 for like a Mustang style dual brake master cylinder. So I'm gonna do a little research on that. I might just throw a GM master cylinder on here. The only difference is, instead of having the front here and the rear brakes there, it'll just be like this. It'll just be flipped, and then instead of this end being here, it'll be back here, you know, vice versa. So I'm gonna do a little research on that. And the Chevelle one actually has the outlets on the same size. Now they are a different, I believe, a different fitting, but I can go in here and, you know, I can cut them off, and we can come up with something there. But I might just, you know, I'm trying to do something temporarily so the brakes are truly right on this car, and we don't have, you know, junk on here like that, and, you know, be driving down the road and something bad happen. That's the whole point of doing the suspension and getting this car straightened out. I've been dreading this for a while, I really have. I've been dreading it because I knew it wasn't right, but we're going to get it straightened out. So I'm going to do a little research on that and see if I can find, I'm going to try and find a Mustang style master cylinder. But if they're, you know, if it's over, you know, if it's $100-150, I can't afford that. So the Chevelle one is about 50, and it's new. You know, of course, now not everything new is good, but, you know, I just don't really like a remanufactured brake master cylinder. I mean, yeah, they can go in there and put a sleeve in here, and you just don't know what's wrong with it. I mean, chances are it's probably going to leak anyway at the back of it, but we're trying to make this car safe. So if I got to run a GM master cylinder temporarily, and that's what I'll do. But it's only until I can get the money gathered up to do the disc brake swap, because we're getting disc brakes put on this car. I am going to buy the disc brakes for it. We're going to put 4-wheel disc brakes on it, power disc brakes, like I said, and we're going to keep the original wheels. The tires are going to come off this car, and we'll probably pass them on to the Biscayne, and the wheels I will keep for this car. Like I said, anything that comes off this car that is truly original to it, that brake booster is not, and that master cylinder is not. But anything that is truly original to this car, I always kept. I have everything to this car except for the single brake master cylinder, which that was gone when I got it, so Lord knows where it's at. And this car, as long as I own it, will never have a single master cylinder ever back on it for safety reasons. But anything else, I think I don't have the air cleaner to it. That's one thing I do not have. And the water pump I did pull off, I do not have. Well, I have it, but it's not the original one, if that makes sense. But point being is, anything that's original onto this car, I keep. And if I ever want to put it back 100%, I can do it. That's the whole point. But we are going to pull them wheels off. Buzzard. But I'm going to pull these wheels off, and we're going to find torque thrust wheels, and we'll probably put 15x7 torque thrust wheels on it when we do the disc brake swap, because these 14-inch wheels are not going to work. You got to go to at least a 15-inch disc brake wheel, which I don't mind anyway, and then that'll probably be about it. Because I like a resto mod. Like I've always said, I like a resto mod. I'm more into the resto mods. I like original car like this, I do. You know, like I said, we're not going to do nothing with the motor other than just, I'll have it overhauled and get the transmission overhauled. And, you know, I don't mind a few things like the HEI ignition and, you know, Edelbrock carburetor, just a few things like that. But I can put everything as bolt on, so I can, if it bolts on, I can unbolt it, take it off, and put all the original stuff back on if I ever want it. But it'll always have the original with motor and the original transmission. We're going to never disturb any of that, and that's where we're at. So I'm going to do a little research on this brake master cylinder. The original single master cylinder, like I said, was a 1-inch bore. This one is a 1-inch bore. And pretty much it really don't matter if it's a Dodge, a GM, or a Ford brake master cylinder, as long as it's dull and it's a 1-inch bore. I don't think we're going to have any issues, to be honest. The disc brakes, some of them are about 1 1/8 inch, maybe 1 1/16 inch. Some of them are weird numbers. I think my F-150's got a weird one like that. And this is the style master cylinder that I'm going to run, except it'll have, you know, disc drum on my 89. But where I made that video with that plastic tank on it, and where they're not really a true dual brake master cylinder. They make you think it's a dual master cylinder, but it's not, because they leak down if you ever bust a line or, you know, whatever. But this is the style we're going to run on the 89 F-150 to correct that. So if we ever lose front or rear brakes, then yes, of course, you got the proportion valve. It has a check valve that will shut off either the front or the rear, and you'll still get stopped. But mine was seized, and that failed to happen, so it actually run all the fluid out. So if I would have been driving down the road, that would have not been cool. But anyway, look, I said anyway again. I'm trying to get out of that habit. But I hope y'all like the videos, and this is where we're at, and we'll do a little research on this, and thank you for watching.